जयो गिरिवराधारी जय गोपीजनवल्लभा अजयो गिरिवराधारी जयो गिरिवराधारी जय गोपीजनवल्लभा अजयो गिरिवराधारी जयो गिरिवराधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन उदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन नंदन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारी तीरावनचारी यमुनतीरावनचारी तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा अजयो कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा अजयो कुंज विहारी जयो कुंज विहारी जयो कुंज विहारी जयो कुंज विहारी कुंज विहारी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास और भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me, Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me, Jayo Radha Vallabha Sri Radhe, Vallabha Sri Radhe, Jayo Radha Vallabha Sri Radhe, Vallabha Sri Radhe, Jayo Radha Madhava Sri Radhe, Madhava Sri Radhe, Jayo Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Sri Radhe Madhava Radha Madhava Sri Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Sri Radhe Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Sri Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Sri Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Sri Radhe Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Vardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan 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 Jaya Nitai Doyal Jaya Nimai Sundar Jaya Sundar Nimai Jaya Nitai Doyal Jaya Nitai Doyal Jaya Nimai Sundar Jaya Sundar Nimai Jaya Nitai Doyal Jaya Nitai Doyal Jaya Nimai Sundar Jaya Sundar Nimai Jaya Nitai Doyal Nitai Doyal Jaya Nimai Sundar Jaya Sundar Nimai Jaya Nitai Doyal Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Jaya 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 Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Srila Guru Deva Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Srila Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Srila Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Srila Guru Deva ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो So therefore, the Rishi says that you are just a servant of your senses, whereas I am the master of my senses. And this is the difference between you and me. And hence you always live in anxiety, whereas I am anxious free. And this is what we find in the case of Prahlad Maharaj, that the result of Prahlad Maharaj's absorption in Krishna was ecstasy, whereas the absorption of his father in material things was anxiety. Fear, anxiety. So we find that Prahlad Maharaj was totally absorbed and dependent on Krishna, whereas his father, he was never subservient, or he never bowed down in front of anyone except once in front of Lord Brahma when he was seeking a boon. But all that made him what? Only anxious. And this is the characteristic exhibited by everyone in this world. What is that verse in Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita? That's in chapter 2. Yanisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagriti samyami yasyaham jagriti bhutani sanisha pasyato mune. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-control, and the time of self-awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. So there the night and the darkness, or the light, does not mean the night and the day. Rather, it talks about the night represent the indifference or the lethargy for spiritual activity, whereas the day indicates the interest, the insight in Krishna consciousness. So where an ordinary person spends his time in material activity, while the Krishna conscious person spends his time in spiritual activity. And this is the difference between an ordinary person to a person who is mahabhagavat. So we find that Prabhupada continues in his purport. Similar to a mahabhagavat, everyone must... So this is a sign of mahabhagavat. Even if one is an enemy of Krishna, a mahabhagavat sees him to be also engaged in Krishna's service. Another crude example is that everything appears yellow to the jaundiced eye. Similar to a mahabhagavat, everyone but himself appears to be engaged in Krishna's service. And often we find Srila Prabhupada saying that if you want to approach Radha Vallabha, then you should pray to Srimati Radharani. And Srimati Radharani says to Krishna or Vallabha that here comes a wonderful devotee, better than me, please accept him. So when Radharani recommends, Prabhupada says that Vallabha accepts us. So this is what the Mahabhagavat thinks about it. And Mahabhagavat, Prabhupada continues, Prahlad Maharaj is an approved Mahabhagavat, the supreme devotee. So who is a Mahabhagavat? For general understanding, what do we find in Bhagavatam that tells about Mahabhagavat in general? We can classify devotees in terms of Kanishta, Madhyama, and a Uttama. So therefore a Mahabhagavat is an Uttamadhikari. And how is an Uttamadhikari explained? Someone who is highly knowledgeable and someone who has complete faith in Krishna and has the ability to transform the heart of an ordinary person to Krishna consciousness. And a Kanishta is somebody who is a neophyte, who is a beginner, who comes to temple and possibly prays to Radha Vallabha, but he does not see eye to eye with others. Whereas a Madhyama, his faith is strong, but his understanding is not that good. but better than a Kanishta. But so Prabhupada says that at least come to the platform of a Madhyama. And therefore we have so many courses, Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava, so that one is promoted or one moves from no knowledge to a platform where faith is developed and a good understanding is also developed. Maybe we can take, I always give this example of a game. What is that game called? Kabaddi. Does everyone know Kabaddi? Yeah. So if you look at the Kabaddi game, you find that the way the game is played is that you have the two teams like in any game, and then the person has to move, there's a line in between, so the person keeps saying kabaddi, 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 kabaddi. Instead of saying Krishna, 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 he says kabaddi, 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 and then goes into the opposite side. So if the person happens to be a neophyte or the person happens to be a beginner, the moment he goes to the other side, the opposite terrain, he is caught. And therefore, because his faith is weak, he is immediately caught, and then he starts thinking, well, whatever practice I am doing is not that good, and therefore he tries to practice the new thing to which he was exposed. Whereas a Madhyama is a Kabaddi player who goes to the opposite side, sometimes he is caught, and sometimes he comes back successfully. So it's a Madhyama. Faith is strong, but not always is able to defeat other persons in Krishna consciousness. Yeah, so therefore that person is a Madhyama. Sometimes he is caught, sometimes he is successful in pulling the other person into one's own terrain. But a Uttama is a person who always goes to the other side and then brings back everyone to his fold because his faith is very strong, and his ability, or his understanding in Krishna consciousness is very good, and therefore he can capture everyone, or he can transform everyone into Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada continues, and we find that who is a mahabhagavata is given in 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Does anyone remember which part speaks about Mahabhagavata? There's a question asked by Arjuna.
How does he speak?
Yeah, Sthita Prajnasya Ka Bhasha. So that is 53 or 54. Arjuna is asking the question, how does he speak? How does he sit? How does he talk? And what are the divine qualities, Sthita Prajna? Actually, I think Sthita Prajna or Krishna Prajna is Krishna consciousness. So that's where we find. So therefore, there Arjuna is asking, and Krishna gives the reply that someone who has got the divine consciousness. Anyone remembers the verse? I'm trying to find out. Anyone remembers the verse? 2nd chapter, I think 53 or 54. Arjuna said, Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadi kim prabhaseta kim asita vrajeta kim. So I'll just read only the next verse. Sri Bhagavan uvacha prajahati yada kaman sarvan partho manogatan atmanyeva atmanatusta sthita prajnata uchyate. The Supreme Personality of God said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind thus purified finds satisfaction in the self alone, then is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. So therefore, any problem the person faces, any turbulence the person has, he is simply or she simply tolerates it as the mercy of the Lord, because in that section that's what Prabhupada gives us the purport, And the famous verse we always talk about, that is Tattenu kampam susimik shamano bunjana evatma kritam pikakam hridvak vapurbhir vidadhan namaste jivetayo muktipadasa dayabhag. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past deeds, and offering you respectful obeisance with hearts, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his dayabhak, that he has become his rightful claim. So we find many such examples, and today we are in the midst of, because the time is, we are in the midst of Easter, and it's a time, it is said that this is a time when Jesus Christ was put to lot of pain, and he had to tolerate that pain. The cross was placed on him, or he was crucified. And yesterday was the day it is said that he was resurrected, or God helped him, the Lord helped him to come back alive. So that the pain and the agony that he tolerated became a symbol for Christianity today, because the cross now appears on every church and on the chest of believers in Christianity. So what does it? It means that when a person, so therefore what he said became a gospel, or what he said has been accepted by his followers, because he did nothing for his personal sensual pleasure. He sacrificed his life for the benefit of others. So therefore, if you want to reach out to others, to understand what Jesus Christ has undergone and became an embodiment of purity and compassion to reach out to others, it calls upon us as well this sacrifice. And similarly, we find in Srila Prabhupada the same sacrifice. At the age of 70 years, with hardly any money in his pocket, with only faith in Krishna and the instruction of his Gurudev, travels all over the world to establish Krishna consciousness. And when his disciples saw him, they saw in him the purity, they saw in him the compassion to uplift them, and therefore they surrendered. So one should read Prabhupada's Leelamrita to understand the sacrifice, the compassion, the daya, the love Prabhupada had for Krishna, that manifested in the form of his daya and compassion towards the fallen souls. And therefore we should invoke the feelings of Jesus during this holy time, or they say that not holidays but holy day. Normally we say this is Easter. For us, we say that, well, it's a wonderful time, Easter holidays, but they say it's a Easter holy day, because an exalted mahabhagavata has come alive to preach Krishna consciousness, to preach God consciousness. And similarly, we find Prabhupada, our great-grandfather or grandfather, he brought to us Krishna consciousness, and our business is to carry forward what he left for us to do. Typically in Bombay, people who are coming from Bombay, they know that the father did the dabba business, dabbawala, then the son carries forward that same business dabbawala, and his grandchild also continues to sell the same dabba, same boxes. So similarly, our business is to carry forward what Srila Prabhupada has given us. And for that, it calls on us the sacrifice we need to do, the simplicity with which we should live to and absorb our thoughts in Krishna consciousness by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Why today Jesus Christ is so much praised? It's because of the humiliation, the pain he has undergone. Once I asked in one of our sessions, what inspired you to become Krishna conscious? And I've asked this question to many people, but I remember only one of the answers given by this particular couple who said that whom we were introduced to Krishna consciousness, what he spoke, he lives by that. And that attracted us. And therefore he said that we visited that devotee's house, and I was surprised to see their house. He said that in their house I didn't find anything. Very simple living. And that touched my heart. That transformed my heart. And therefore I became Krishna conscious. I've started chanting. I've taken to this path. So if we have to reach out, then we should live by what we are saying. Otherwise, the other person will not receive the message. वो एक कान से आएगा और दूसरे कान से चला जाएगा. It comes through one ear and leaves by the other ear. So we cannot imitate mahabhagavas like Srila Prabhupada or Prahlad Maharaj and other exalted personalities, but we can walk on the steps shown by them to us. We have recently, I think, we celebrated your Gurudev's Vyasa Puja. Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. What a compassion! With so much of personal discomfort, he is preaching all over the world. I think they said that yesterday he was in Dallas preaching Krishna consciousness. And they on that day they showed that video. That video said that if somebody wants to become the deep depth in Krishna consciousness, one should read Chaitanya Charitamrita how many times? 108 times. How many of us have read at least once? Not even once. So, not fully. Yeah, but what it means that not even once we have read, whereas Maharaj has read 108 times. And when? Long ago. Not recently, long ago. And so that he can share that compassion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with others. And therefore, what can we do? As Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya says, Mahajano ena gata sapanta. We just follow in their footsteps. We don't imitate them, but we try to follow in their footsteps and share Krishna Katha to the extent possible. And how can we do that? By ourselves practicing what we preach, or ourselves practicing what we want to share. Yeah, at this point I'll stop, and any question or any comment? It's almost 9.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you very much for such illuminating class. I remember example of Sudama. Sudama was so deeply absorbed in Krishna's thought. He had nothing to eat in the house. His wife was always thinking how to serve his husband, such a chaste wife. And then she made her to visit Krishna in Dwarka, and he was not prepared to go. She was telling that if you have got such a good friend, at least he will give you something to eat, and then I can cook and then feed you. But ultimately he agreed, and he wanted some gift for Krishna. And then again there was nothing in the house. She had to ask the neighbor for flat rice. And those flat rice she put in a small cloth, put a knot, and he took away. He had no proper clothes, not even shoes. Nearly barefoot he went all the way from Pandharpur to Dwarka. And when Lord Krishna saw him approaching Rukmani's palace, Lord immediately jumped out of his bedstead, went to meet him, embraced him into arms, brought him inside, put him on his bed, and washed his feet. And you know what? How he washed his feet? With the eyes, the tears of the eyes. One of the poet is saying, "Dekh Sudama ki deen dasha, karuna karke karuna nidhi roye, pani parat ko छुयो नहीं, नैनन के जल से पग धोए." That means with the tears of the eyes, Lord Krishna washed Sudama's feet, and then he snatched the rice, flat rice, that you have got some gift for me. He didn't want to give because such opulence of Krishna in Dwarka. But Krishna snatched and ate, and then he took one muthi, and then he wanted to take another. Then Rukmani stopped, that you have already given so much. Then if you take second one, I'll have to serve him. So she stopped. So what I'm saying is, Krishna is so kind and merciful, and as you said all the time in the whole class, that we have to absorb our consciousness in Krishna's bhakti, Krishna consciousness, loving service to Krishna, and make our life sublime. So we can get out of this world and material world full of misery, and come. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the nice comment. I think His Holiness Bhakti-Acharya Swami Maharaj says that chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and following 4 regulatory principles sincerely, it's not difficult for such a person to return back home, back to Godhead. That's not a big thing. But what is big thing is to facilitate others to return back home, back to Godhead. This is the mission of Srila Prabhupada. This is the mission of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. And this is where, to the extent, whatever little is possible for us, we should participate in this mission. Then our life becomes glorious.
Any mother, you want to say comments?
Any question, any comment? Okay, then Grandharaj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jesus Christ ki jai. Hari Bol ki jai.
Extraordinary.